Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the Last of Knives. Today we're looking at another interesting looking knife, which is the CRKT Tuna. This is a Lucas Burnley design, and I gotta say the looks and construction are just super cool. Just the slight curve on the top of the knife makes it unique in its own way. So I've actually had this knife for just over a month now, which makes me confident enough to share a few things about what I've learned. But anyways, let's get right into it. So jumping right into the specs, you're looking at a knife with a two-tone handle of OD green G10 on one side and 2 CR13 steel on the other, which also has a stonewash finish. It has a drop point blade with more black stonewash finish and a blade steel of 8 CR13 MOV. The blade grind is what appears to be a hollow grind, and it also features dual thumb studs so you can access this knife from either side. But the sad part about this knife is that it has a right hand only carry clip. Now let's look at the dimensions. So I'm pretty impressed on the weight of this. As a big knife, I didn't really expect an outcome like that. But if we look inside, you can see that the G10 side doesn't have any supporting liners, which takes off a lot of weight. And now here are the size comparisons. First off, we have the Knife Center exclusive Real Steel Knives Luna coming in at 6.61 inches compared to the Tuna's 7.68 inches. Second, we have the Civivi Hooligan with the snakeskin micarta scales with 7.04 inches. Next, we have the Benchmade Mini Griptilian coming in at 6.78 inches. Really similar in length to the Tuna, we have the CRKT CEO coming in at 7.63 inches. And we have the CJRB Small Feldspar 7 inches. And the CJRB Centros 8.31 inches. Similar size to the CJRB Centros, we have the Ontario Rat 1 coming in at 8.62 inches. So as you can see, the Tuna is probably one of the most beefiest out of all knives shown. When fully extended, it has that broad knife vibe where it will just tank through anything that gets in the way. But anyways, let's get into more detail about the Tuna's features. Now in terms of ergonomics, it's actually pretty comfy in my hands, although I wish the jimping would be more effective. If you rub your thumb against the thumb jimping, you literally won't feel much. Also, the clip is positioned perfectly so you don't feel any hot spots when squeezing the knife in your hand. It curves downwards as shown here, and it also acts like a groove for your hand, which is a really nice little thing. The action on this knife is good, but it does come pretty tight out of the box, at least for mine. It's not drop shotty, but you can close it with a little hand movement. But the Tuna is smooth enough for you to open and close this knife easily without that much effort. Of course, I've handled knives with better action, but for $45, I think the Tuna is pretty good. Anyways, the pocket clip is tip-up only carry, and sad part, it cannot be reversible. As you can see, there is no mount on the G10 side, so this is a one position clip only. It also carries pretty deep in your pocket, although as you can see here, there's a little lanyard hole sticking out of the pocket. I would have changed the position to a more higher place, like right beside the clip, as how my Benchmade Mini Griptilian's lanyard hole is. Now moving on to the blade, 8 CR14 MOV is a decent budget steel which has decent corrosion resistance and edge retention. Not as great as, let's say, AUS 8, which does have almost equal amount of edge retention, but AUS 8 has better corrosion resistance. I honestly really don't see a difference between these two steels, but 14 MOV has 1% chromium in it. I'm not a steel expert, so I had to research that last part, but anyways, with the blade grind we have a hollow grind which is perfect for hunting and slicing through meat, although since there's little material supporting the edge, it might chip and roll easily, which is not that fun. So the blade clip and clip side of this handle are all stonewashed the same color tone. I really like the stonewash finish on almost all knives because it just makes it look really sleek and clean. Next thing, handle material is OD green G10 on one side and stainless steel on the other. Also, taking a look at the spine of the blade, you can see that it's not sharp at all, and about halfway you have an inwards curve. So if you're into bushcraft and you want to use a knife as a striker for your ferro rod, that wouldn't be the right choice because it's just too smooth to get a few sparks off. You also have a lanyard hole at the bottom which is screwed in with 4 screws. I believe it has a copper finish, not really sure, but it complements the whole design and color really well in my opinion. Now a few positives and negatives and some nitpicks I have about this knife. Well, first of all, I've said it many times already, I really like the curvature along the whole top of the knife and the deep belly. This is definitely one of my favorite looking knives I've handled. The handle ergonomics are also really good. I get a nice firm grip around the whole handle because the curve on the top of the knife really fits into my hand, except the jimping, which is pretty disappointing, and we'll get into that. But first, the action is also something I appreciate for a $45 knife. Super smooth and fast deployment, low effort opening and closing this knife, which I really enjoy to fidget with, and you also have a frame lock which is pretty easy to disengage. So now my opinions on the parts I dislike. Honestly, when I held the knife in my hand, I was amazed by how comfy it was, but the jimping was pretty disappointing. But yeah, not really a problem in my opinion because I can handle knives with no thumb jimping, but I would love to see some effective jimping on this knife. You can also see from this angle that it's almost as if the jimping was below the handle itself. But anyways, I wish the clip would be reversible, but I think I get why they made it a one position clip only. I guess they wanted the G10 side to look clean, but I wouldn't think a small mount on the very bottom where the lanyard hole is would ruin the design. But yeah, those are the few positives and negatives I have about this knife. Just a really cool budget knife, and if you didn't know, there was also a limited edition CRKT Tuna, which is no longer available, but it was in S35VN steel, which is a huge steel upgrade. Metal Complex made a video about it, which I'll probably watch at the end of this video, but yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have to cover in this video. Honestly, for $45 USD or $60 Canadian, I don't really think it's the best knife out there for its price. Like, for sure it has great action, cool looks, and more, but there's still many options out there that, in my opinion, have better steels and action, like the Rat 1 and the Rat 2, which come in for around $40 to $50 Canadian, which is cheaper than the Tuna. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, or dislike and unsub if you didn't. But either way, thanks for coming by.